Despite the most earnest efforts of parents, some children do become unfaithful. Think about Solomon. He wasn't a child, but it's very difficult to understand how that man turned away from Jehovah in his old age, but he did. And then even Jehovah had sons who proved unfaithful. That's what the June 1st, 2007 Watchtower showed clearly, and we're all familiar with it, the angels who turned away from their Father, their Creator. And something to keep in mind for parents particularly who have really tried hard to raise their children properly. We don't want to see them beat themselves, figuratively speaking, on and on for years and years because they feel like they're failures. They should not do that. How do you account if it seems to some parents that no, somehow they failed? Well, then how do you account for children who receive no help whatsoever from their parents, and they love Jehovah and they come into the truth? It's heart condition. So parents would be wise to focus on the future and what they can do, not to look back and beat themselves over problems of the past. And even when children do turn aside from serving Jehovah, parents who have conscientiously trained their children in the way to walk, they can still entertain the hope that those young ones will come back someday. We never give up on our kids. We don't give up on our close friends or siblings who may have walked away from the truth. We always hope that they'll come back. Psalm 19:7 is interesting. Psalm 19:7, speaking of the reminders of Jehovah. There it reads, "The law of Jehovah is perfect, restoring strength." And then it says, "The reminder of Jehovah is trustworthy, making the inexperienced one wise." Well, those who leave the truth, many times it's reminders that come back to them, the way it was at home, the counsel they received from their parents, the loving congregation that they attended. And who comes to mind when you think about the reminders coming to mind after living a life of debauchery? The prodigal son. He was at his lowest. And then who did he remember? His father. His father who undoubtedly had shown kindness and love to him.
His father who ran out to greet him while he was still a long way off. Look it up, William Malenfant, governing body helper. Look up that parable. You will see that not only does the prodigal son return only when he has exhausted all of his money and therefore cannot commit more debauchery because he can't afford it, which, if he were in a judicial committee today, would be looked upon as worldly sadness. He'd be disfellowshipped. Not only that, but when the prodigal son returns, the father runs to greet him while he is still a long way off. None of this, excuse me, just hold on a minute, keep your distance. Before I embrace you, before I get the rest of my sons to slaughter a bull and put on a feast, I need to know, son, are you repentant? I don't remember reading that in the parable. Do you, viewers? I'm pretty sure that the father ran and embraced the son without asking a single question. And William Malenfant has the gall to bring up the story of the prodigal son in the context of disfellowshipping and shunning as practiced by Jehovah's Witnesses. The story of the prodigal son doesn't support disfellowshipping, it completely and utterly eviscerates it when you actually read it in context and apply it to what Jehovah's Witnesses do. This material will be enraging for those watching like me who are being shunned by believing Jehovah's Witness relatives. William Malenfant here putting the boot in on such ones when he says things like,
But then how do you account for children who receive no help whatsoever from their parents, and they love Jehovah and they come into the truth? It's heart condition.
yes, it's all about the heart condition, you know. If you leave Jehovah's Witnesses because you no longer believe, you've got a dodgy heart. There's something wrong with your heart condition. Whereas if you join Jehovah's Witnesses, if you find their teachings persuasive, it's because you've got a good heart condition. This, again, is gaslighting. It's making people doubt their judgment. It's telling people, if you don't agree with us, if you don't follow us, if you don't do what we're asking you to do, there's a problem with you. There's a problem with your heart. They use a similar line of manipulation when they talk about honest-hearted ones repeatedly. Oh, we're only interested in reaching honest-hearted ones. Honest-hearted ones will respond to our message. Again, you're only going to respond to our message if you're honest. If you don't respond to our message, it's because you're a liar. And here William Malenfant's using exactly the same sort of manipulative, narcissistic language. Are you honest, though? You can't be honest if you've fallen away. Only honest-hearted ones stick with it or join our organization. He also says,
We never give up on our kids. We don't give up on our close friends or siblings who may have walked away from the truth. We always hope that they'll come back.
I think it's important to remember that when there is shunning, when families are broken apart due to the disfellowshipping command, it's not just the shunned who suffer. It's the ones doing the shunning. It must tear them apart. It must eat away at them because they are being forced to do something that goes against their nature. It's against the nature of a mother or a father to pretend their child doesn't exist, to treat them as though they are dead. Granted, some parents seem to do it more easily than others. But make no mistake, it's going to eat away at anyone who shuns someone because they've left the organization. It's going to eat away at them. It's going to haunt them. And what William Malenfant is doing here, a man who, again, in my opinion, has aged disgracefully and is now just a mannequin, just a puppet for an organization that he's been slaving for decades. He should know better. The penny should have dropped by now, William. After all of the decades you've put into this, the penny should have dropped that Armageddon isn't coming, like you said it would when you were preaching about 1975, because that's how long you've been in this organization. And here you have the gall to tell parents who are going through hell because they're shunning their children, oh, they'll come back. They'll come back. Don't give up on them. Live in denial. Live in denial about the disbelief and apostasy of your children, who can no longer bring themselves to believe a lie anymore. We don't give up on our close friends or siblings who may have walked away from the truth. We always hope that they'll come back. This is a man who wants parents, siblings who are going through hell to make things even worse by spending years or even decades thinking that their disfellowshipped or disassociated ones will return, living in denial.